Hi, welcome to Psalm 136. This one would be the last of the Psalms in a collection that actually is interspersed called the Great Hallel, the Great Praise Psalms, or some people would treat this one as the Great Hallel Psalm itself, and you'll see why. It's not hard to figure it out. Psalm 136. This is how it begins. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. Give thanks to the God of gods, for his steadfast love endures forever. Give thanks to the Lord of lords, for his steadfast love endures forever. And so it goes on. For 26 verses, we have this kind of antiphonal phrase, the second line. And so presumably you'd have the priest, whoever it is, saying the first line, the crowd responding with the second, and on it goes right the way through. It does strike me when I look at this that it is a very powerful use of repetition. It's not straight repetition where it's saying the same thing line after line after line, but it's saying the same second line deliberately and overtly all the way through the psalm. Now this is a sort of a literary repetition, if you like. This is one way of doing something. It strikes me that, you think about, for example, Isaiah chapter 6, where we see that glimpse in the year that King Uzziah died. I saw the Lord high and lifted up, high and exalted, and the train of his robe filled the temple with glory. And then you've got that wonderful description of the seraphim kind of flying around the throne and declaring, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty." Now I hear people look at that and say, okay, that's the only description of God that is repeated 3 times. And in that form, of course, they're right. Now the point that gets made is that we should be very, very deliberate to revere the holiness of God. Fair enough. What about this psalm? 26 times the second line is being repeated. It's a different type of writing, I know that, but it's creating emphasis. It's creating an impact in the reader, in the listener, or in the worshipper who is repeating this phrase back line after line. His steadfast love endures forever. The steadfastness, we've seen this so many times, the steadfastness, the loyal, covenant-keeping, enduring nature of the love of God. Well, here it's steadfast love that endures, and it endures forever. It's just, even within the line, you've got the threefold, let me just mark it here, sort of a threefold emphasis on the kind of love that defines and characterizes God. It's steadfast, it endures, it's forever. There's a reinforcement even within the line, and then that line is reinforcing 26 times. As you progress through it, there are basically 3 sections. To him who alone does great wonders, for his steadfast love endures forever. From 4 down to 9, it celebrates God's creation. From verse 10 down to 16, to him who struck down the firstborn of Egypt, his steadfast love endures forever. We've got God's redemption. So creation, redemption, and then from 17 down to 25, God's provision and protection. To him who struck down great kings, for his steadfast love endures forever. So we've got the kind of creation section, the redemption section, the protection and provision section. Let's double P that. And then you get the concluding verse. Give thanks to the God of heaven, for his steadfast love endures forever. It's a great psalm, Psalm 136. Be sure you don't skip the second line and sort of get into the habit of avoiding it because of the repetition. The repetition is there by divine design to reinforce in our hearts the reality of the kind of God that we have. We have a God whose steadfast love endures forever. Read it, enjoy it, say it out loud, and share it with others. Psalm 136.